Hey everybody, welcome back. So today we're going to show you how to use the reclaimer. And if you happen to have an extra 15 mil burning hole in your pocket, I can guarantee you give yourself a couple of evenings of play and you'll make that money back in no time. We'll start off with the tour. It's the biggest salvage ship you can. You can salvage any ship right now in the game with it. And we'll start with this. So you got your cockpit, you got pilot seat, claw operator seat. So you can't handle it solo as of 323.1. These are the scraper heads. If you really want to maximize your profits, you can roll with that. You have here you have remote turret stations. You have engineering stations because it comes bristling with absolutely like an amazing amount of firepower for group and protections. Here's your elevator, your little pedestrian or single man elevator go up and down near the cockpit. We come up here. And I just love this ship. This ship has very much a Nostromo vibes from Aliens and stuff like that. It's amazing. So here you have the access to the twin size 5 man turret up on the top. I think by default they come as repeaters. You then have, this is the drone deck. So when drones become a thing, you can send out scouting drones to grab parts closer to your ship. Presumably to scout, that kind of stuff. The actual play will be fleshed out as time goes on. When engineering becomes a thing, there are other areas as well. Like you come down here, like here's like the gravity generator. You go down there, and then you have like the actual reactor or part of the reactor core. You have these little side rooms like escape pods. So, when those become a thing, you have very Nostromo-looking escape pod-looking things. You have in here, like, a storage or server room. And this ship is huge. It is amongst one of the biggest ships in the game that you can fly right now. Here's the mess hall. The seats are a little busted. But as you can see, there's a lot here. We have crew quarters with here's the captain quarters with a bed for the captain, shower, etc. And then we have over here your crew quarters for your scrapers, for your engineers. There's a shower and all that stuff there too. There's your storage for your suits and that. And then you got your external exits here for one way down, and then you have a whole subdeck down there that's for engineering, but for the sake of keeping the video short, we're not going to worry about that. Now here's where the bread and butter is. So right now we're on the hab deck. But what you do with this is you either scrape or you fracture. Let's just take this time. And then what happens is a buffer fills up. And you come to these two printers here and they produce boxes. So to make sure that everything was working, so to be safe, I've already done a few salvage missions with this. I've done about half as many as what I'd like to normally do. So I'll do another one kind of front to back with you. So you do have grid here as well. And then if you come down here, this doesn't necessarily have a grid, but when you have multiple people, what you can do is you can store stuff down here too. Let's look at that ambience. Look at the smoke coming out the doors. And then of course, then you also have a cargo hold. Which I actually do have some stuff in this cargo hold because I've been pulling the high value materials out of the wrecks I've been doing, which is nice. And then this cargo hold here has enough storage in here as well. So you have plenty of room, and of course you could also exit ship as well. The salvage balcony is where I had all that stuff up top. But once we get back to the cockpit, I will show you how to go through the legal means of doing salvage. There are a couple of other different techniques too, because if you notice, I do have a railgun on me. Because I was anticipating on landing and salvaging people's ships. But we're not really doing that right now. So there's a couple different ways to do this. I personally just, I got coin to buck up, so that's what I do. But you could easily just go around. You could easily, go to, land 2-3K out and bring an STV or something on the back elevator there. So you do have gravity in space. And then, drive in, take out the turrets, and then come up close and salvage away. Okay, so then now this is what she looks like on the outside. So this is not the stock paint. This is another paint that I have, the Dolvine paint, which is the subscriber's paint, but I prefer that over just like the old green. So now, we put our landing gear down. That's how she looks when she's landing. Royal pain in the ass to land, which I'll show you a little bit later. But she's a brick. She falls right out of the sky, and that's it. Anyway, so how do we get started? So what you want to do, I've obviously done a couple different missions, but what you want to do, you won't have many salvage missions to start. What you'll have is like these let's see, do they have the small ones? Yeah, so you have to do 2 different missions first before you get into the big guys. So you have to do one of these, and then it'll split you up to one of these, like Argo Raft or Connie. So even if you are wearing a vulture, which if you do want me to do a vulture video, I can do a vulture video as well. But let me know in the comments down below. But what we're going to do is we're going to look for a C2 Arca 1. You could go 2 as well. That's that one. So we'll take this one. So these ones do cost 50k, but you have to do 2 of the lower missions first. One, you'll start off with like I said, one of these ones it's 1,000, and then you'll end up with one. You could do one that's 5,000 or 20,000. And but with these ones, you can literally go as high as you want. So now we're going to set our route. And the one thing I do recommend that you do is change out your quant drive if you do decide to go this route, because the stock quant drive in it is slow as all get out, and it takes forever. But when we get there, when we line up with the target, I'll show you what I generally do when I come to a salvage. Okay, so a few kind of key tips to remember with the reclaimer so that you don't get royally pissed off with it, because it is a ship that you essentially have to learn how to speak its language. One, it does not like to fly in atmo. So if you're in any type of atmo, you got to have VTOL on. You got to be like full thrust up. It's a flying brick. 2, much like any other ship with elevators and that, don't be taking an elevator while you're in quantum. If you do have crew and they're going back and forth, have them use the ladders. If you do have to do that, if you do have to traverse around. And 3, understand that it's very cumbersome. So don't, just be patient with yourself. Take your time. Don't rush, because it's all very important, all key to understanding how to essentially operate the reclaimer, either solo or with a group. Obviously, with a group, it works better. But we're looking on solo operations. So now it'll be up to you if you want to take the time to go through the cargo hold of the ship. What I have noticed with doing these now for the last patch and a half, give or take, using the reclaimer, is that there will always be at least one box of quant, generally, and then one box of at least one or two SCU of gold. So the very least, you might get lucky, get 2 or 3 SCU of quant. Like if I were to go into the C2, probably find actually quite a good amount of quant probably. But each ship, each reclaimer can only have 100 entities inside it. So what does that mean? Have 100 boxes. You can either have one box of quant, or you can have a 16 SCU box of RMC or construction material, whichever you prefer. I prefer the big boxes, but I do get quant once in a while. And lastly, I'm going to show you both methods. You either scrape first, and then you fracture, or you could just fracture. Just fracturing, I would recommend you do with the reclaimer because it is just easier. But I'll show you hull scraping first, though. So with hull scraping, you'll want to get in the salvage seat. And power it on. I want to enter a remote turret. So these two scrapers have a couple of different modes to them. They have tractor beam, so you can drag stuff around if you needed it to. And then they have the trawler. So as you can see, we have 240 SCU of space. So if you wanted to really maximize your profits, you would left click. We'll see if this is going to work. So you see how slow this is? That's what I'm saying. It's not really worth... in my opinion, the time to do. But I'll get one SCU box just so you can see. See, now that's how long it took to do one SCU box. That's something we're not interested in. That takes way too much time in the reclaimer. Now, if you're in the vulture, you might want to do that. But not in this reclaimer. Now the running theory would be you have two scraper turret operators, and then that would you would both be working on it, so you'd be getting quite a large amount. But I can see it's very slow. It's a very slow moving process. and it just takes forever. This used to be how you used to have to do it. So when I have a full 16 SCU, I'll be back. Well, that took about 20 minutes to hull scrape 16 SCU of RMC, which is recycled material composite. Now, RMC sells for a lot more than construction material or CM, but I'll show you why doing CM is far more profitable than RMC when you're using a reclaimer. So I positioned the reclaimer about 60, anywhere between 60 and 80 meters away from the ship. We hop in our claw seat, and I already have it turned on. But what I do is you'd have to come over here, power on, and then you'd have to hit M to extend the arm. So what we need to do is we need to fracture it first. And ultimately, the further away you are, the longer it's going to take to fracture. So that's what I'm saying. Anywhere between 60 and 80 meters I found is the sweet spot. And then when you're disintegrating it, we want to look at something else too. I'll show you that in a second. Okay, so it is now fractured. So now we right click, and you see how we have that minus 11% there? That's a bad thing. We want that to be in the positives. So how you'd be able to fix that is you would, if you were like you're doing proper multi-crew, you would readjust your ship. But all I did was I just left click to start the process of disintegrating. And what this is now doing is this is now chewing up the ship and breaking it in little pieces and changing it into construction material. It does take some time. We're just about done. And we didn't quite get everything, and that's where that negative modifier came into play. But we're not too concerned about that right now because I'm not super picky. If I was going for full, I would have realigned my ship, got it back into position. But now we hit M to retract our claw. And as you can see, there are still parts that we could salvage. That's also loot that we could grab too if we're really so inclined. But we're not. That's what we're not here for. So now we make our way back. Make our way back to the salvage processing. Now the key with this elevator is you hit one button, and only one, and you let it go down. Because the more you press it, the more likely you are to mess it up. So now here's where the fun part happens. So normally you would just have construction material. But we have RMC as well. But what we're going to do is we're going to do our construction material first. We're going to change it to 16 SCU. So it's going to take 16 seconds to produce 16 SCU containers. That by default is going to have that unchecked. So we're going to keep it checked. So it's going to keep ejecting boxes. So now we just hit eject. And then I'll fill a box and print. And then same thing over here. And then make sure that auto eject is hit and then hit eject. So now what's going to happen is as these get ready, they're going to produce boxes. And like I said, it's going to take 16 seconds per box. And then once all done, it produces the box. Now this is where having multi-crew really comes in handy. Then while you have guys salvaging and you know, loading the boxes up, finding the ships, traveling, that kind of stuff, you can have guys in the back here loading it up. Now you can load it up however you want. I usually try to keep it fairly organized, but then there becomes a time when it just goes all over the place, kind of like what it is now. I already had 3 star lifters in this ship already, so this will be number 4. I know I have comfortably been able to fit about 4, or maybe about 5 or 6 on a good day, and if you get very creative. 6 is about the most that I've ever really been able to have. And you just unload them until the buffer is empty. And then because we got that 16 SCU of recycled material, we'll pump that out as well after we're done with the construction material. And then I'll be back. This is what a very messy 4 star lifters looks like. I still have space here, and I still have space here that I could stack stuff in. But that's good enough for now, for the sakes of this recording. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to head back to Arc L1, because that's the easiest one with the mid terminals and the TDD. And then when we get there, I will show you what we're looking for. Going to store a ship to make it easier to sell. I'd imagine with 323, I think they're saying that if you want to like sell anything or move anything off your ship or use any of the automated services, but we're not in 323 yet. But I think they so you want to store your ship. At least I always store my ship. And then we want to head towards the Arcourt Plaza. So now, obviously, each place has its own different thing, but basically, construction material gets sold at admin terminals. So you can even sell them on space stations too. Just the stock is extremely limited. But both admin and TDD, because I have both minerals and construction material, I can buy and sell here all in one spot, so it's easy for me to get to. But if you go to Orison, if you go to Lorville, they're in slightly different locations, so just be aware. Know your locations. Know where they are. Second to that, another neat little point, in case you're curious, you can refuel your reclaimer on station, on like a random space station. You can't call it, but you can fuel it. The only orbital space station, so to speak, that you can call the reclaimer at is at Grim Hex. So remember that. But Grim Hex only has 1 or 2 hangars of that size that you need. So you're going to want to be really careful with them. But you can land it right on the big pads. You can refuel, you can repair, you can even sell your construction material if you want to. Run the risk, but it is exposed, so it could be torpedoed, it could be rammed, any number of the issues. So we're going to first stop at the TDD, and then we'll see how much we can make off of 4 Starlifters. I normally run anywhere between 6 and 8 in my reclaimer, but this has been just kind of a passive, I'm just going to I'm going to run it just because I want to do something, but I don't want to quite do anything super productive in adulting. So that's kind of what I'm doing instead right now. But yeah, so we're going to hit up TDD first. And when we get to TDD, I'll show you what we make off the construction material and the quant that we got. Okay, so our first stop is TDD. We're going to sell our quant, our gold that we had from the first 3 that we went in and raided the cargo holds, and the thing of RMC that we scraped for our example. So let's see here. Allow us. Okay, so as you can see, it won't, oh, no demand for this. That's not fun. Anyways, so you tell here that the RMC sells for 13K a unit, and we got 16, so that's not too bad. So we got 70. The Quantinium sells for 22, so that's 120. And then that's another 160. So that's about 200K right there, give or take, just off that alone. So right there, we made just off the stuff that we found 150K, which more than covers all of the 50K salvage fees. Which is awesome. So now in Arcourt specifically, the admin terminals here are in Tower North. We come up here, up the stairs, and they're right here. There's 4 or 5 of them. So then again, we select our reclaimer. And we got 600K there. That's just the stuff that is on grid. That's how you have the 112 SCU. And then we have, this is everything that's not on grid. So just off four starlifters, we made about 5.5 million. Off 4 starlifters. That's not even including this extra 200 some odd. While the reclaimer is quite cumbersome, it can do very well for you. It can get you a fair amount of change in a very short period of time. Now, mind you, I was just dinking around. I wasn't seriously going, but when I seriously go in an hour, I can get to and fracture, and also, if the RNG gods allow, for everything to be all in one spot. If they allow me to kind of bounce around in a very specific order, I can very easily make 6 million in an hour. So yeah, you're saying, oh, I need 15 million to buy the reclaimer. Well, that's fine, but in a matter of 3 solid hours of playing, you can make that back, and then you're in the green from there. So anyways, thank you very much, everybody. If you have any questions, don't forget to leave them in the comments down below. I will answer them, and I hope to see you in the verse.